Well, good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing, August 19th, 2024. And another beautiful day here in the Macedon Ranges. I'm just out with Neil now. He's just decided to take a drink in a puddle. So hope you're enjoying that, buddy. But yeah, beautiful day. And doesn't it seem even more beautiful when your team has had a win over the weekend? I'm talking about the Mighty Blues. They went over to Perth to play the West Coast Eagles with 17 players on the injury list, including some of their best players. So we weren't quite sure how we were going to field a team, but not only did we field a team, we went over to Perth as underdogs and had a ripping 10-goal win or whatever it was. So good stuff on the Blue Baggers, and it looks like we've still got a win next week. So it looks like we might be playing finals just yet. Not sure how we'll go in the finals with so many injuries, but the fact they've regrouped and got a win on the board, let's hope they can get one more win and make the finals next week. But that's it's a different story. We're talking boxing today, and probably the main fight over the weekend was the Christian Mbilli and Sergey Derevyanchenko fight, and what a brutal fight. Geez, that Derevyanchenko's tough. He is tough. He fought most of the fight with a torn bicep. And Mbilli was on him throwing bombs the whole fight. This guy just doesn't know how to set up a punch or get his groove or even try and get his range or time. He just walks towards you and it's just bomb after bomb after bomb. So he's very entertaining. But Derevyanchenko, wow. As I said, he fought most of the fight with that torn bicep, but he had his moments. I think it was the 7th round from memory, where he actually had Mbilli. I won't say he was sort of hurt, but he definitely had him on the run. He was just throwing right hand after right hand after right hand, and he did give Mbilli something to think about. But this is obviously a very experienced, tough guy. Fought a lot of the best fighters in the world, and yeah, no shame in what he did yesterday. Just a tough, as I said, brutal fight. And Christian Mbilli gets the 10-round win, but I suppose the question has to be asked, is he next on the radar for Canelo Alvarez? Canelo is obviously fighting in a couple of weeks' time, or is it 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time, whatever it is, against Edgar Berlanga. And you'd have to say yes. You'd have to say he would be on the radar now for Canelo Alvarez, because apart from the obvious in David Benavidez, Canelo Alvarez hasn't really got a lot of other options. And I know they'll be looking at marketable guys, guys will be entertaining, but maybe not with a realistic chance of beating him. And I think Mbilli probably fits that bill. Not the most well-known guy. I know he's obviously from Quebec, Canada, but he has got a market up there now, just like Berlanga has with the Puerto Ricans. So yeah, I think he might be on the agenda. Maybe in May, if the Canelo and Crawford fight maybe doesn't come off, and it doesn't look like it will at this stage, although there's still murmurings that that's the fight that Crawford wants, so we will see. But I don't think Mbilli probably stands a great chance of beating Canelo, but as I said, he will be entertaining, he will come to fight. I think Canelo beats him the same ways he's going to beat Berlanga, against a young, tough guy who's going to come and go at him, but his defence is not overly great. Does leave himself open, does telegraph his punches a lot. This is both Berlanga and Mbilli. And I just think Canelo, being the sharpshooter that he is, would eventually break both of those guys down, and I think stops both guys in probably 7, 8, 9 rounds. But yeah, I wouldn't be against that fight. From what I saw yesterday, Christian Mbilli, I mean, he just comes at you, puts the head down, a little bit like Tyson used to do, and just one after the other. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. But just as a sort of potential opponent for Canelo Alvarez next year, if Crawford or whoever else doesn't happen. The other thing I did see, actually, speaking of Crawford, I'm not sure where this has sort of come from, but there has been, call them red hot rumours, that maybe they're looking at Crawford and Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, in Saudi Arabia. So obviously Turkey Al Sheikh will be behind it. That sort of surprised me a little bit. I didn't expect to see that. I thought Triple G was retired. He hasn't fought since September 2022 when he lost that one-sided decision to Canelo. Is 42 years of age. Hasn't had a win, I think, since April 2022 when he beat Murata in Japan. I'm not sure. I mean, on paper, probably looks like a great fight. You know, Gennady Golovkin versus Terence Crawford. From what I saw against Canelo, I'm just not quite sure what Triple G has left. I'm not sure I know he'd be strong enough against Crawford. I'm just not sure whether he'd have the speed and the timing and all that sort of stuff that he would need against Crawford. Because even at 160, which is where they'd fight at, I think, and as unimpressive as Crawford was, I think he would definitely have enough to get past Triple G. And what I don't think would be a really entertaining fight. But as I said, looks great on paper. Let's see if they can do something about it. And remember, Triple G has said himself he hasn't officially retired. He just hasn't fought for a couple of years. So interesting there. Look, I know we have seen in the past a lot of these sort of fictional fights have been thrown up. These interweight fights have been put forward by Turkey or Turkey Al Sheikh and either leaked or discussed or whatever. And some of them aren't overly realistic, but at least he's talking about them anyway. So another interesting one for Crawford. If that is the case, to be targeting Canelo and maybe Triple G, it's definitely after that legacy fight, isn't he? Speaking of legacy fights or legacy fighters, I did see another one. I did see that Julio Cesar Chavez has put on his Instagram page or his Twitter account, whatever it is, that he'd like to fight Floyd Mayweather Jr. in an exhibition. I was like, wow. I mean, just the sight of both of them on a fight poster. The date did say September 16. I don't think that's going to happen, of course. It's only, a month away. But geez, just the sight of them on a poster together, Chavez Jr. versus, Chavez Sr., I should say, I shouldn't say Jr. Julio Cesar Chavez, the great Julio Cesar Chavez against Floyd Mayweather Jr. Wow. Back in their day, what a fight it would have been. I can't really pick a winner, to be honest. You would probably say that Mayweather would have been a little bit too slick and defensive for Chavez, but then again, Chavez did beat the likes of Meldrick Taylor and Hector Camacho and got the disputed draw over or with Pernell Whitaker. But 62 years old, Chavez. But have you seen the nick that he's in? Wow, he is in great shape. So, but I think, yeah, only a month away. I doubt that it will happen. Mayweather likes to build things up, and he has got a fight with Gotti. Is it Gotti Jr., whatever his name is, coming up next. But yeah, it would be an awesome fight and a hell of a dream fight back in the day. The other thing I wanted to quickly discuss is the UFC. I watched the UFC yesterday, and it's not normally something I do a lot. I just got this one. I did see the build up with, what's his name, Eddie Zenia, the side swiper or side bender or whatever it is, against the South African Duplessis. And there wasn't much sort of happening yesterday, so I thought I'd get it. My sons don't mind the UFC, and they were sort of keen to watch it, so I got the card. And it's interesting watching the UFC compared to a boxing event. And one thing I will say, the UFC, they do it so well. It's almost like it's modelled on a real life WWE event, or because you've got it's the way they run it. As I said, it's almost, I felt like I was watching a WWE show, but obviously it's for real. And these guys are just the hell of athletes. They really are. But they do it really well. Dana White is a marketing genius, and what he's done with that company, if you don't know, he actually bought the company for a couple of $1 million, I think it was, way back when it was on its knees. He didn't invent it, it was someone else had it. And Dana White and his partners, I think, bought it for a couple of $1 million. Now it's worth a couple of billion, I think. So just an amazing effort there. But watching the event, and they do it really well with they have the in-fight replays, which I don't think we have in boxing. Like during the round, they'll actually have little replays going on the corner. If someone does a strike or something they want you to see, they'll put the replay in the corner. Not quite sure we do that in boxing. I might be wrong. The other thing is they have live comments from people on social media. people in the know, they'll put them on the screen as they go. They have advertisements going during the round, so they really squeeze as much out of the telecast as they can. And then, look, Bruce Buffer, is it Bruce Buffer? Yeah, Michael Buffer's the boxer. Yeah, Bruce Buffer, the ring announcer. A little bit of take it or leave it for me. I think he's a poor man's version of his brother. He seems okay, and he obviously gets the UFC faithful up and about, but after a while he was getting a little bit annoying with the way he goes on. So it seems to be just the same old, every single fight, same old every, with what he's saying, and as I said, it got a bit monotonous after a while, but yeah, as I said, the UFC got people, they love him, and they are a different, unique crowd as well. I went to the UFC a couple of years ago, and there were fights in the crowd and lots of sleeve tattoos and lots of mohawk haircuts, all that sort of stuff. They are a different crew, but they love it. They love it. So bless them. But the fights themselves, like it's almost like this big dramatic, literally sending off your brother or your mate or whatever it is, your comrade, off to war. You see them come in and they stand there, they put the arms out, everyone's as serious can be, and even the security look like they're going to war as they walk them in. Like, you get a little bit more light-hearted sort of stuff at a boxing event. Everyone's not sort of as on edge, but they literally treat it like they're going to war. And they put the arms out and they have the cut man dramatically walks up and puts because that's the different thing I didn't realise about box. Of course, the boxers do all that stuff in the change rooms and in the ring, and they just march out, get in the ring and get on with it. But the UFC guys, they've got to stop. They've got to get the cut guy at ringside to put the Vaseline on while everyone stands there and all serious and chest pumped out, back in the man, and then they have to give everyone a hug. And these long-winded, emotional hugs, they almost squeeze the life out of each other to get in there, and it's a really dramatic stuff. It really is. And then, of course, they get in the ring and they get on with it. But yeah, it's a hell of a different look to a boxing event. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying it's different. But the main thing is that when they're at ringside and everyone's just so serious. Some of the personalities in the corner are pretty interesting as well. What are you doing there, buddy? He's a little bit tangled. Yeah, there's a few different characters they get in the corner, and one thing I did see, they have the cameras and they flash to them, the corner people. Well, it's not really a corner, is it? It's a side of the octagon, and they flash to them during the round. You can hear them talking and saying instructions. Well, if you ever see the size of an octagon and the noise and that in the arena, there's no way in hell that the fighters are hearing anything that the corner people are saying. I can guarantee you that, especially the ones I saw where they weren't necessarily yelling. They were pretty much just sort of a light holler, I suppose is the best way to describe it. But there's no way in hell with the size and of the octagon and the noise that the fighters would hear it. But it looks good for TV anyway. And as for the fights themselves, look, I've said it once and I'll say it again, it's not really my cup of tea. I admire them more than anything. I really do. They are just great athletes. The nick they get themselves in, they're hard, fit, they're just ripped. These are warriors. These are warriors. Make no mistake about that. But watching the fights, I must admit, as soon as they hit the ground, I sort of zone out. Especially, I know there's tactics involved and everything else with getting them on the ground, and they hold them and tie them out, all that. But I mean, as a boxing man, I really struggle to sit there and try not to yawn when that happens. It's interesting because sometimes the crowd's going nuts as they're just laying there. They know what's going on. I'm like, well, someone do something. But I know, again, it's all tactics. And I will say that I probably looking from a boxing point of view, I probably don't appreciate the skills that they actually have. Now, I'm looking at them obviously from a stand-up point of view, and bar 2 or 3, I've never seen an MMA fighter come remotely close to looking like they have skills and ability in the boxing circles. And the ones that have, strange enough, are probably the ones that have had a fair bit of success. The guy that beat Volkanovski last time, him in particular, very, very good boxer, I thought. Footwork, hand skills and everything else. But as I said, I'll probably judge them a little bit harshly, because that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the defense, the way they throw punches, their footwork, the way they avoid punches. That's what I'm looking at. And I probably don't appreciate the other skills that I don't know much about. And I'll be the first to admit that, you know, with the kicks and the little takedowns and the maneuvers they do on the ground. And yeah, because I don't understand those arts, I probably don't give them enough credit about how good a fighters these are, and I'll admit that. But all that aside, it's definitely entertainment value. The crowd was at fever pitch. This is in Perth, by the way. The Aussies obviously love the UFC, but all the events that I've seen and been to, I've been to 3, I think, and the events themselves are very, very entertaining. The crowd goes nuts. As I said before, the crowd there is a lot different to a boxing crowd, but that's cool. That's their own kind, I suppose. I don't know. But they definitely get into it, and just the event itself, they put so much into their production and build up and drama and theatre, and as I said at the start, it's almost like a WWE production, but these guys obviously get in there and go for real. So it's entertaining. I didn't mind it for a Sunday afternoon with not much happening. I don't buy them often, but I was sort of glad I watched it yesterday. It wasn't a bad main event, actually. The South African Duplessis getting the win over, what's his name? The side swiper? I don't know. The airbender, I think that's what the style bender, that's what they call him. Sorry, I'm not being smart here. I literally can't remember his name. Adesanya, the Kiwi guy. So the other thing that's interesting too is that, and I know it happens in boxing a lot too, but all the drama in the lead up to it. I mean, these guys rip shreds off each other in the lead up and then hugged it out at the end like nothing happened, but it just makes me laugh sometimes. But anyway, it was a good event, and as I said, a nice way to spend a Sunday. So that, guys, that is it for today. Have a great Monday, and we'll catch you tomorrow.